All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. This masterclass is called How to Start More Five-Figure Implant Cases Every Month with an all-new method that finds, qualifies, and books new patients without additional doctor time or extra burden on the staff. There we go. I'll go ahead and turn my video on so you guys can see me. If you're here tonight, it's likely for one reason. You're looking to grow your business and you're trying to grow your practice, and specifically, right, the implant side of your business is, I'm sure, why you're here today. And so I've got some really amazing things that I'm going to be sharing with all of you today to help you do that. And I understand, it's there's a lot of things you could be doing right now, but the fact that you're here shows me that you're really serious about getting a lot of this stuff figured out. Because look, most dentists aren't here. They're not doing this. They're not on webinars. They're not figuring this out or continuing their education, right? So I really do appreciate all of you for being on this masterclass, taking the time to better yourself and move your practice forward. Now, with that being said, I do need your attention. Please turn off your cell phones, close any distractions you have open, or get away if you can, because if you really want to get more implant cases, then this next 60 to 90 minutes are going to be absolutely critical for you. Okay. So what are my goals for this masterclass? Well, it's really two things. One is that the only way for you to attract and schedule high quality implant patients in today's dental landscape is through online educational funnels. And the only way to build an online educational funnel is through FireGang's advanced implant funnel process. Okay. So today on this masterclass, we're going to walk through exactly what that implant funnel process is, how it works, and how you can apply it to your practice so you can start bringing in more high value implant cases. But a little bit before we get into the details of what that looks like, I just want to talk a bit about who we are, who I am, who's talking specifically. My name is Ryan Menacho. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing here at FireGang. You can always reach me at marketing@firegang.com. Many of you guys do. And feel free to reach out with any questions in the future. I went to the University of Oregon. I got hired by FireGang after that. I've been here for 5 years and have been managing the marketing and sales teams ever since. But I've personally worked with doctors as well, and I've spent millions of dollars on dental marketing initiatives, trying to figure out how do we attract more new patients, trying to understand what works and what doesn't work for new patient attraction. And so I've done a lot of webinars, masterclasses just like this, online trainings, written a lot of blogs and articles, white papers on dental marketing and what's working today. And we're going to do some more of that right here on this masterclass. But why listen to us? Well, right now, as a company, FireGang, everything that I'm going to be speaking about today, these are things that we are currently doing for our clients right now. None of this is conjecture. These are items that are actually being used today. We've got clients from small startups all the way to multi-location practices that are using all the strategies that I'm going to be discussing today. And a lot of times these campaigns you see out there that you might be competing against or that larger practices are using that you're thinking, wow, I really like to be doing something like that. That looks amazing. We're probably one of the ones who developed and designed and implemented some of those, especially in the larger markets, because we work with dentists all across the United States and Canada, and we've been doing this for over 10 years now. We built some amazing partnerships along the way with dentists as well as others in this industry. And now the last thing I'll say about us before we go ahead and dive in is that last year in 2020, we spent just over $1 million on Google advertising on behalf of our clients. So this was all ad spend that was targeted directly towards attracting new patients. This is on behalf of our clients. And I don't mean to like brag by sharing this, like we spent a lot of money or anything, but what I do want you guys to understand is that what I'm going to share today, it's not theory, because we've tested this day in and day out, and we know what works and we know what doesn't work. We've done this at a massive scale, spending millions of dollars on these ads. And, I don't know where you guys are coming from on this masterclass. Maybe you've spent tens of thousands on ads in the past. Maybe you've never run ads before. But spending a few $100s a month is very different than spending $100,000 a month or more on ads. And so by doing this, it's given us thousands and tens of thousands of data points to understand what ads work, what resonates with patients, and what's not going to work. So I'm going to share a lot of really amazing findings with you today on this masterclass. for what's working, what's not working. And where I'd like to start with all of this is by sharing the story of Dr. Roy. Dr. Roy is a client of ours, and he's been working with us on FireGang's advanced implant funnel. So I just want to share his story really quick. Dr. Roy wanted more implant patients. And so he started marketing his practice online. A big focus for him was to figure out, how do we utilize online marketing to bring in more implant patients? Because he saw other practices doing this. He saw his DSOs doing this. He saw others succeeding with this. And he really wanted to do the same thing. He felt like he offered amazing quality implants, especially compared to those in his immediate market, but he consistently struggled to show value. And what he began to realize is that patients in his market weren't able to really tell the difference between him and other dentists, at least in the online space, right? And so the question became, how do we overcome this? And so for him, for Dr. Roy, really his goal was to have enough implant patients that he could focus just on that. And he could bring on a dentist, an associate, to focus on all the other stuff. Because Dr. Roy really just wanted to focus on the procedures that he loved. And dental implants is certainly one of those. And he wanted to grow his practice at the same time. Well, Dr. Roy had used other marketing companies and other strategies in the past to attract more new patients. And it's like kind of the same thing every time, right? There's always like this big cost to start. You have to rebuild the website. There's this long ramp up time, and then results may or may not actually show, right? And so Dr. Roy didn't want to be doing the same thing over and over. He wanted to actually get the right thing in place from day one. And so he started speaking to some of his colleagues to try to understand what's working today, what makes sense, where should I invest in a marketing strategy. And what he found is that he discovered a new type of implant marketing known as educational funnels. And so what he learned is that normal websites weren't enough anymore to attract and schedule implant patients. What you actually needed was a dedicated implant funnel that was focused on education, something built specifically around implants. So he ended up, after all this, partnering with us at FireGang, and we help him set up his educational implant funnel. And he actually started bringing in more implant patients, really great implant patients. And he started to see 1 to 2 more 5-figure cases every month. And so that's when Dr. Roy realized that the secret to growing the implant side of his practice was through these educational funnels. And what was also cool was that what used to take 6 to 12 months to get up and running was now only taking a few weeks to get up and running. So Dr. Roy at this point wanted to know what's next, right? Like, what's the best way to keep the patient flow moving, to keep growing, to keep scaling, to ensure that we can keep a consistent stream of high quality implant patients coming in. So when we originally built this implant funnel, we ran into one major issue. And what that was is the front office would be swamped with calls, and it kind of became a burden. It was like impossible to handle these leads effectively. And I think that this is kind of a common problem that occurs with dental marketing as a whole, where you might have marketing that brings in a ton of new leads, and then your front office is like left to deal with all of them. But there had to be some way to overcome this. So after some thought, we came up with this hybrid solution that completely transformed the effectiveness of this entire method. So the first part was that we started adding qualification up front that would only push the best, most serious leads to the front office phone lines. I'm going to show you guys some of that today. Next, we brought in some front office training to teach how to get these patients scheduled on the calendar. And in some cases where the implant funnel was bringing in so many qualified, high quality leads, we even stepped in and we actually hired teams to work these implant leads on behalf of the practice and just kind of be their phone support. So with the solution, we had finally kind of figured this out. We had this educational funnel that brought in implant patients differently and better than anything else that we'd seen in dental implant marketing, anything else that Dr. Roy had seen in implant marketing out there. And so now Dr. Roy is at a point where he has an educational funnel, and it's bringing him a consistent stream of high quality implant patients to his practice. And he's got a dialed in phone inquiry system to handle these leads and book them every time. So in fact, within just 7 weeks after launch with FireGang's advanced implant funnel product, Dr. Roy brought in almost, what was it? It was almost 138,000 in additional revenue compared to the previous 7 weeks. And so at the end, you know, he's now spending more time doing implants. He's still a client of ours. He spent more time doing implants. He's got more revenue and growth for the practice. And I mean, that's pretty cool, right? I mean, that's pretty cool, right? And the key for him was that he just got away from doing all this traditional marketing, and he was ready to embrace something new, a new idea, a new way, a new approach of attracting implant patients. And I get it. Like, I've told this story before, and you might be thinking, well, yeah, it worked for them, but can it work for me? And the truth is, it absolutely can. I'm going to provide you of some more examples of success later on in this masterclass, and show you exactly what you need to do to make this happen for you in your practice, in your market, in your situation. Because the truth is that if you offer implants and you're confident in your talent, you're confident that you can deliver great quality work, then this today is for you. Okay. So let's go ahead and dive into what made Dr. Roy so successful. And what it was the 3 secrets of implant funnels. So secret number 1, we're going to talk about first today, is showcase your talent. We're going to talk about how do you show patients that you're their best choice for implants, whether you're a general dentist, an implant specialist, a periodontist, and so on, no matter what kind of dentist you are. Secret number 2 is qualify and procure. We're going to talk about how to create a system to qualify and procure the best implant leads on autopilot. And secret number 3 is to create consistency. This is how to secure consistent demand for implants month after month and at any time of year. So there's no like slow seasons or anything like that. We're going to go ahead and dive into that, because the thing is here is that once you understand these 3 secrets and how to apply them, you too will attract more high quality implant patients to your practice. All right, guys. All right. So you with me? Ready to go? Here we go. Okay. And if you have any questions on anything that we're about to cover as we dive into these 3 secrets, feel free to enter it into the chat box. I am going to go through all the questions at the end, and I will get all that answered for you. Okay. So secret number 1, showcase your talent. Again, this is all about how do we show patients that you're their best choice for implants, whether you're a general dentist, an implant specialist, kind of whatever dentist you are, right? So Dr. Roy came to this realization that patients in his market really couldn't tell the difference between him and other dentists online, right? They all look the same. So let's dig into how do we really show patients up front before they come into your office why you are probably going to be the best choice for them. And to start with that, I kind of want to go and do kind of a quick overview of current implant marketing and why it's not working. Well, typically what I see is that most implant marketing lacks a focused approach. There's a lot of we exist advertising, like, hey, we've got implants, want to buy them, right? And there's a lot of reasons why that doesn't work. That we'll dive into. Also, it's what everyone else is doing, right? And this, if everybody sounds the same, if everybody's doing marketing the same way, then it becomes a race to the bottom of price and kind of commoditization, right? Where it's just like, okay, who's giving the best discount, right? There's no differentiation with what people are saying. You might have some other issues that I see that we're going to address a little bit later today as well, of like staff being slow to respond, staff handling phones incorrectly when people are calling in finally and asking about implants, as well as no lead capturing or nurturing and people still looking, meaning if a patient calls you and they ask about implants, but they're not really ready to move forward today, what happens when they hang up the phone? Do they ever come back? Do you have any way to track that or reach back out to them, right? Or is that lead just kind of lost forever, right? So these are some major reasons why implant marketing is not working. And the other side of it too is that I think we always want to jump to the end, right? It's like on the first date, what should we name our kids? We always want to kind of jump to the end. And I think it's similar for how most doctors advertise for implants. They feel like, let's just throw up some ads on Google and hope patients call us and they're just ready to spend 25 grand right out of the gate. The reality is that that's just not realistic. Okay. It's just not. They're not just going to call you up out of the blue and spend 25 grand with you. So what we need to do is we need to date them first. We can't just jump patients to the end. We got to date them first. We need to show them why we're the best choice for them. And, there's some other cases too, like patients might need some entry work, right? Maybe they need some other type of dentistry done first that paves the way for an implant later. But we need to start this relationship to build trust and get them what they need. Okay. So let's dive into that. First is an example in the Spokane market. This is our market. We're headquartered in Spokane. So just did some Google searches in there looking for, just dental implants and doing different searches like that. And we saw a lot of this stuff coming up. So what you'll see here is this ad, dental implant Spokane, best tooth replacement. It goes on. There's a bunch of copy below, but there's no differentiation. There's no call to actions. There's no personalization. In this description here in the ad, it says compassionate and capable staff. And it's like, I hope so, right? Like I hope that the staff is capable. I don't go to a dentistry to have staff that doesn't know how to put in an implant, right? So being compassionate and capable is not something that like separates you from other people, right? It doesn't separate you from other dentists. We can do a lot better than this. Now, if you were to click on this ad, you'd go to this website and, we see a stock photo, we see a lot of stock copy. It's just, there's nothing about this site that tells me why I would want to choose this practice. Okay. So what this kind of boils down to is we've identified through our research, through all of the advertising that we've done, through looking at all these data points, that there are three major things that every implant patient asks, and they have to get these three things answered before they will make a decision on if they're going to move forward with you or not. The first is, how much does it cost, right? The second is, what are the options available for me? And the third is, who should I choose or who should I trust? Now, most dentists wait to answer all three of these questions for when the patient is in the chair. Okay. And that's great and all. And you can do a great job when they're in the chair. But what about all the people that don't ever get to your chair, right? I hear all the time dentists saying, I just need more people to call. I just need more people to show up, right? And then we can close them in the practice. So what we want to start doing is answering these questions all the way in the front end. We want to move this all the way up to the front. As early as in your advertising on Google, we start answering these three questions for a patient. Okay. So how do we do that? It all starts with an implant informational guide built specifically for conversion. So just keep it simple. The way you want to think about this is, if you did get a patient to land in your chair, right? What would you say to them to make them feel comfortable and showcase that, hey, we're the best choice for you? Well, just think about what that would be. And then essentially you're doing the same thing, but it's going to be in written format. So this is where we want to start. And patients really need to read this guide and leave knowing exactly why you're different than everybody else. The other thing too to think about is, like, if you don't even know what makes you different or why a patient would want to choose you versus another practice down the street for implants, then a patient's not going to be able to tell either, right? So you need to really start thinking about this. What truly makes you different? And how can we communicate that in this kind of written guide format? This is where to start. The next step, get some advertising going. But the way that we want to advertise here is specifically focused on getting a guide download. That's all we want to do. So step one really is just get them to download the guide. That's it. That's all step one is. And so what you'll notice about these ads here, it says dental implant pricing guide. How much should they cost? Free dental implant guide, right? We're not advertising like get $500 off an implant or like dental implants available. We're not talking about that. We're just trying to get people to download the guide initially. Okay. And what you'll see here is we've got just huge click-through rates, 7%, 12.8%. They're much higher than what we see in traditional marketing. And I have a comparison for you. So on a cost per click basis, when we look at traditional advertising, how this is traditionally done with kind of the We Exist advertising for dental implants versus this approach that I'm sharing with you now. First, let's talk about cost per click. This is how much you would pay every single time someone clicks on your advertisement. With traditional marketing, we typically see that the average cost per click for an implant ad is almost $11. Through this method, $2.70, right? This is a massive reduction in cost per click. And if we also look at this from a click-through rate perspective, and click-through rate means the amount of times that the ad is shown versus how often it gets clicked. So with traditional marketing, this is a 1.9%, or we can average to about 2%. But with our method, this improved method, it's over 10%. What that means in layman's terms, our ads in this format get clicked on 5 times as often as your traditional marketing ads. And they're about 25% of the cost. So not only are they cheaper, but also they're more effective and patients want to click on them. Because think about this. If you have a burning question, right, and someone is willing to answer that question for you, you're going to be interested and you're going to want to click on that and you're going to want to learn more. So all we're doing here is we're saying, okay, let's take this question from the big 3. How much do they cost, right? And let's put that in an ad. And that's what we're advertising here. Okay. I hope because you guys are starting to see this. And then after we get these ads up, they've got to land somewhere, right? People, they're going to click on this ad and they're going to go somewhere. So what we'll do is set up a dedicated landing page. And this is the next step. We don't want this to be your website, not your practice website that's got all of your information on it, that's got all your other services on it. We want a dedicated landing page that's exclusively designed for this advertisement and for this funnel, okay? So this is going to be separate from everything else. In the entire goal of this page is just to get them to download the guide. Again, just kind of reiterating that. It's just about downloading the guide. So you see they land on this. This is Dr. Roy's landing page. And you can see it's just like a big button that says, go ahead and download your guide. Here's the guide. There's no sign up form yet. There's none of that. It's too early for that. We just want them to get them to download a guide. So I hope you guys can start seeing how this is all starting, right? See how this is way different. We're just starting with education. The entire goal of this front bit is to get them to download the guide. That way you can educate them about why you're the best choice. And it pushes this all the way to the front. So you're educating these patients before they're in your chair, okay? So it's really cool. Now, once we get that done and we've showcased your talent to the masses, it's all about qualification and procurement, okay? So secret number 2 is qualify and procure. And what we want to do is create a system that qualifies and procures the best leads and do it on autopilot, because now you're going to get all these people downloading the guide. You're going to be getting all these leads coming in, and we need to sift through to find the right people that are actually going to be make great patients, right? And so it's at this point, I think that a lot of times dentists are thinking, well, wouldn't this approach just drive a bunch of less than desirable leads? Wouldn't this drive just a bunch of price shoppers or not buyers? And so the reality is, through our research and what we've seen since we've been running this funnel, is that people don't download the guide unless they have an interest in implants, okay? Even if they're not ready to move forward right now, they either need implants themselves or they're looking for a family member or a friend, okay? And again, like it might be today, but it might be that they're going to be ready in the future and they're starting their research, okay? So how does this process work? After somebody downloads the guide, they click that green button there and they go ahead and download the guide, they're going to be met with this next screen here. This is the page that comes up immediately after, and it says, hey, your request is not yet complete. Your guide's on its way, but as a limited time promotion, get a complimentary x-ray, exam, and dental implant consultation, right? And so we're trying to now get them to move to a consultation. Some people will immediately fill this next form out to book a consultation. A lot of people will read the guide first, but that's okay. But the key thing at this point is that I all too often see practices treating every lead the same. But what we know is that not all leads are as good as others, right? And so it's at this point where we want to start putting a system in place to rank these leads that allows us to basically spend 10 to 15 seconds with bad leads. That way we can focus all of our energy on the best ones that are coming in. So this form here on the right side where people go to fill out to request a consultation, there's a couple key things that we want to do with this. First off, we want to ask them a whole bunch of questions about themselves. And that right there, like if they're not serious about this, they're not going to fill the whole form out, right? If they're not really serious about this, they're not going to do it. But then we also want to ask them a lot of key questions about themselves to understand if this is going to be a good patient for you or not. So a couple of these things here. First off, we ask them, how serious are you about getting dental implants? Right? I'm very serious, or I'm just considering it, or I'm just looking, but thanks, right? And then we ask them, what problems are you currently experiencing and how is this affecting your daily life? This really can help your practice sell these people, because they're going to tell you, and it's amazing because I've seen the data, and people really do say exactly what their biggest problems are, what's going on right now, why they want dental implants, what they're struggling with. This can help you close these cases. Furthermore, we say, hey, what do you think that you need based on maybe some of your research that you've already done? When's the best time to call you? And do you agree to arrive on time, right? And this really kind of flips the entire paradigm here, because what this form does, it's subtle, but it forces patients to apply to get implants from you. It like sets you up as the expert and says, hey, we've got this great implant process going on here. And if you want to be a part of it, you can fill out this application and we'll see if it's a good fit. So it gets patients coming to you versus the other way around where you're like trying to chase these patients down and like get implant work done, right? It completely flips that on its head, and it really does work that well. So let me show you some examples of some of the leads that have come in. Of course, I've redacted all the patient information, but you'll see here, like, what problems are you experiencing? And it's like, hey, I need implants on the bottom and top. I had to redact some information, but just people basically saying what they think they need, what's going on with them. Another example here, this guy said, being on video chats has really shown me how horrible my teeth are. It's just, look, it's the reality of the times. We've gotten a lot more to video and people can see themselves on video. And so this is a real concern. And that's something that, you could help somebody out with. So this guy said, this is what I think I need. Yes, I agree to come in, and, and these are patients that are just ready to have this dentistry done. And there's also opportunity here as well, where if people answer certain questions in a certain way, then they just kind of get kicked out of the process. Like, there are some people who I've seen, and I think this is really weird, but when we ask them, like, will you commit to showing up to your appointment on time? They answer no. And it's like, okay, great. Now we know that you have no intention of showing up. We're probably not going to book an appointment with you. So it's just really, that doesn't happen that often, but it's just interesting. By putting these forms in place, though, you learn a lot about people and you really do weed out the bad leads doing it. So at this point, we now have built this process where we've advertised to find these people. And then we've also been able to get people to raise their hand and say, I want to come in for a consultation. I'm ready to have dentistry done. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and you can see if I'm a good fit for you. Okay. So that's the point that we're at right now. And so I hope you guys are seeing this. I hope you see how powerful having this information can be, right? And how useful it would be to utilize this within a system. So then this leads us to step 3. Okay. Secret number 3 is creating consistency. Because what we want to be able to do is secure consistent demand for implants month after month and at any time of year, okay? Because we want to consistently have people that are constantly raising their hand, filling out that form and saying, I want to get implants from you. Now, to illustrate this point, I want to tell you one more story. This is the tale of 2 dentists. Now, we had 2 dental clients in the same market. They were far enough apart to not be like overlapping. It was a big market. They were both running the implant funnel going into COVID, right when the closures were happening. And so after months of running their respective implant funnels, the conversion rates for both practices were almost identical. It was pretty similar results right up until the closures hit. And so when the city was starting to shut down, we had one of these clients, and unfortunately, I couldn't get their authorization to share their name, but we had one of these clients, and I'm just going to call them for the sake of this client pause. But they came to us and just said, hey, we'd like to stop all our advertising, we have to pause everything. They were kind of laying off their staff, closing their office. It was unfortunate, but that's how it goes. And we explained to them that, you might still be able to see patients for emergencies, but this practice, they were really in a state of fear, and there was little that we could say that was going to change their mind. On the other end of the spectrum, we had Dr. Continue. And this guy basically asked us, what marketing would you recommend that we do during the closures? And so our advice to him was that practices really should continue to market for services that they still can offer, right? Emergencies. And we knew that we could still market for emergencies. So we said, let's just go ahead and ramp that up. And both practices wanted the same thing, right? They both wanted to come out of COVID as strong as possible, or at least stable, right? Come out of the closures, but they went about this in 2 very different ways. So one decided, hey, let's stop everything to reduce costs. And the other said, let's keep going. Let's keep trying to gain market share through this as an opportunity. But the biggest roadblock was, how do we serve patients under the new restrictions, right? Of course, that's the big roadblock. And what we realized pretty quickly was that implants could be an emergency service, right? If someone can't eat, that's a huge emergency, obviously. And let's just say that an implant was the best course of treatment for that individual, right? Then now it counts as an emergency. Now there's some that are just cosmetic cases and we had to wait on that, but there was still opportunity here. And what we found is that even in COVID, people were still in need of dental services. Everyone thought, oh, this is going to be a dead time. Nobody's going to come in. We should close it all down. But in reality, it was that people needed implants during a pandemic just as much as they did outside of the pandemic. And to top it off, most practices stopped marketing and closed down. So those that were still marketing, right, those are the ones that had that big opening for tremendous opportunity and growth. And so client continue kind of kept moving and kept marketing. And this was the end result of that. After we got through the closures, client pause, obviously, 0 implant leads came into the practice, 0 appointments got booked, but that was to be expected. And then we had client continue. During the closures, they had 40 good implant leads come in through this funnel, and 14 of them booked high quality, really, really high quality, like 5-figure cases, booked appointments to come in for a consultation. And then they started closing these guys, and they made a ton of revenue during COVID based on all these implant patients coming in. And the biggest difference here was just mindset and how to approach this. And the way that I looked at this, and I want this to be the big takeaway from the story, is that this idea of there's a slow season, right? Maybe that's true with some forms of marketing, maybe. But with this implant funnel, we've developed a way to create massive amounts of consistency here where there is no slow season, okay? If the implant funnel can consistently drive high quality leads during a pandemic, then it can absolutely drive high quality leads at any other time of year, okay? This thing is extremely consistent. And if you've ever felt like you experience a slow season for whatever reason, you will not experience it with something like this. So let's dive into how we make that possible. So the first thing that you're going to need as part of this that we set up for all our clients on the implant funnel is a CRM for lead management. Now, if you're not familiar with what a CRM is, it stands for a customer relationship management tool. The idea here is that it's about managing all the customers that are coming into your pipeline, all these leads that are downloading the guide, signing up for consultations, right? You want to make sure that you've got a CRM that's HIPAA compliant as well. There's a lot of CRMs out there, but most are not HIPAA compliant. We actually built our own CRM specific for this application, specific for this service to make sure it was HIPAA compliant. So just a kind of a quick overview of kind of what the goal of this is. You can kind of see these headers here of where people are at in the funnel, like working to schedule these guys, who's been booked for a consultation, who started treatment, who has had a consultation done but needs follow-up to get them to schedule that treatment and get them started, right? Who's had a consultation done has already followed through on treatment, right? So we just tag these people and kind of move them through the process. So everybody's on the same page within the CRM. All the leads come in, so people start signing up for consultations. We move them through the process and everything stays extremely organized in one place. The other thing that the CRM allows us to do is have two-way patient communication all the way or all baked in right into this platform so that you can text patients, you can call patients all through this. Everything's recorded, so it's all in one spot and easy to retrieve. However, the most important part and the really cool part about the CRM is the automated follow-up sequences. This is what really takes the cake on all of this. So we have, this is like the 10,000 foot level. I'm going to zoom in just a second, but there's really 2 tracks here. So let's say somebody comes in and they download the guide and they choose not to sign up for a consultation at that time. Basically, what's going to happen is they're going to go through this track on this side here, and it's going to start sending them emails, giving them phone calls, and sending them text messages. Basically, all of this communication that is trying to get them to sign up for a consultation and reminding them why you're the best choice for implants within your marketplace. And I'm going to show you some examples of that in just a second here, but it's just delivering content, answering their questions with all of this through email, phone, text, all of that kind of stuff. Okay. And it really, the goal is answering those big 3 questions that we talked about at the beginning. Why should I choose you? Right? How much does it cost and what options are available at your practice? Now, if someone instead decides that, maybe they download the guide and then they kind of read through it and then decide, hey, let's book an appointment or let's sign up for a consultation. They go through this other track, which is just about making sure that they show up, right? And so let's dig into how we get these people to schedule that appointment. Here's an example of an email, just following up with social proof, right? So we build this whole system and we start kicking out these automated emails. So somebody comes in, they download the guide, and the next day they get an email from you. And it might say something like this: hey, since you're in the research stage, we're going to send over any information that we think may be of value or useful for your decision. And that's what we do. We start sending them emails out. And remember, this is all built ahead of time, okay? So that as these leads start coming in, these emails automatically start going out to these patients. And we send them all the social proof stuff like before and afters, case studies, reviews, where we can send them video content of you or patients, like testimonials, all that kind of stuff can be included in this automated email sequence that's just being pushed out. We also set up automated text messages. So we're trying to get these people in the schedule, right? And you can kind of see here like, hey, thanks for downloading the dental implant guide. The next step is to schedule a free consultation with the doctor. So we're just hitting them on all cylinders, right? At all points, getting a couple emails out, getting some text messages out. And then within this system as well, we've got phone tracking and recording all baked into it. And so most people we find that respond to this system are going to fill out that consultation form. But some people are, of course, are going to want to call your practice directly. And so if they do that, all of it will be tracked right in here, and we can kind of hear how the staff's handling the calls. And if any education needs to be done there, that's always something, we can help the team with as well. But really, the whole idea behind this is that by sending out these automated emails, we're staying in front of patients. So whether they're ready today to move forward with this consultation and implants, or they're ready in 4 weeks from now, doesn't really matter, because we're going to be sending out this information to them. And when they're ready, that button to schedule a free consultation and fill that form out is just never going to be too far away. It might just be like their day off. It's a Saturday night and they're checking their email, or they get a text message from you and they're like, you know what, it's time. And they're ready, and they've already read about you. They are already confident you're probably the best choice for them, and they're ready to book that consultation. That's what makes this system so powerful. And on top of that, it's all automated. So all this stuff just goes out to these patients as they come in. So why this makes something, this system so consistent, is because you're always going to have a full pipeline. You're always going to have people coming into the top, right? People are always going to be downloading the guide, and some people are going to be ready to come into the practice today, but some might not be ready for weeks down the road. And so there's always going to be someone who's going to be ready once we've filled that pipeline, full enough, right? They're always going to be coming in. And let me tell you what, none of your competitors are doing this, right? I don't know where you're coming from on this masterclass today, but I would be willing to bet none of your competitors are doing anything like this. They're probably putting out this generic content saying, hey, we exist, we have implants available. Nobody's sending out all of this amazing content to patients to try to help them understand why they're the best choice. If you do this, you will be different. You will stand out, and you will get patients to choose you over the competition. Okay. So a couple questions I have for you guys is, if you followed what I showed you in secret number 1 to showcase your talent, start with education first, to build out this guide to help patients understand what separates you from everyone else, do you think that you could be more successful at attracting more implant patients? And do you believe that if you follow what I discussed in secret number 2, that you could be more successful at attracting new patients? And if you believe that what we discussed in secret number 3 about creating consistency and securing consistent demand with automated content delivery month after month, that you could be more successful with attracting and scheduling more 5-figure implant patients? Do you think you could be? Do you think this would be a better way to market for your practice, right? And how many of you guys, add some to this, how many of you guys are excited about what we just discussed versus maybe some of you guys are feeling a little bit overwhelmed? Look, I would totally get it. But let me ask you one question. Is it okay with you guys if I just spend 10 minutes going over a very special offer that I created to help you get started implementing everything that we talked about today, to implement this advanced implant funnel? Because look, I know there are always people that come onto these master classes and they feel a little bit overwhelmed. They feel like they really want to do everything we discussed. They just need a little bit of help. So if that sounds like you and you'd like to get some help with this to get everything launched, and you do then want that immediate help, we can build out everything for you that I discussed today. It's called FireGang's Advanced Implant Funnel. It's a complete done for you solution. And if you want our help, we can build all of this out, run all the ads, build out all the guides, all the back end, all the content, and get this set up and launched for you. So I'm going to just spend about 10 minutes talking through this and talking about how this works and some of the results our clients have seen using it. As far as the deliverables, what you would get if you did sign up with FireGang for this, just really quickly, we'd handle all the paid ads for you. We'd build out the funnel, the implant specific marketing funnel creation. There'd be branded email marketing automation, building all of that out. We would build out all the patient follow-up automation. We'd set up real-time practice notifications. We'd build out the CRM for lead management. We'd build out all the landing pages custom to you in this opt-in funnel. We'd build out that customized downloadable implant brochure for you. We'd set up call tracking and reporting. We'd get you set up with a client success manager to walk you through this whole process and be your point of contact, set you up with strategy calls and monthly updates, ongoing reporting and support. And I'm going to talk about this in just a little bit, but even there's some opportunity to handle some of these leads that are coming in as well that we can build into this package. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. Let's look at Dr. Roy's results. We talked about him earlier. We shared his story, but again, these are the results that he got using all the strategies that I've been talking about today. Every single thing that I've discussed is exactly what we did for Dr. Roy. The product I just ran through is the exact product that he's using. And in just the first 7 weeks of getting it launched, he brought in almost $138,000 in additional implant revenue. And it was from these 7 implant patients right here, right? 7 patients, 7 weeks, $138,000 in revenue. And there was one case that was $50,000. There was another case that was $30,000. I mean, I think all but one of these was a 5-figure case, right? These are high value implant cases that he's scheduling here. Another example, this is Dr. Azita. In the first 6 weeks of launching, she saw a 6-to-1 ROI on her spend with us. And a couple of things that I want to point out specifically about Azita's results is this email that she sent to our team. She said, the Gold Star patient, and I had to redact some of the patient information, but let's go down here. So it said the Gold Star patient is one who I spoke with for a while about her teeth. She had a bad dentist and she lives about an hour away. She was really a long shot due to distance, but she's now getting 4 implants and dentures. It was clear she was a big ticket case. And that case did end up closing, which is absolutely amazing, right? I mean, you have a situation, think about this. You have a situation where a patient is so excited about what Dr. Azita is doing and so much believes that Dr. Azita is the best choice for her that she drove an hour for the consultation, right? She drove past what was probably 50 other dentists to get to her practice and see her, right? This is why it's so important to show patients why you're the best choice for them before they get into your chair, because then this kind of thing can happen. Michelle sent another email to us and said, this was very early on. We've closed 2 cases so far, one for 15K and the other for 18K, right? Just these big 5-figure cases coming in as a result of this funnel. And so let's talk through who can this work for. This can work for general dentists, periodontists, implant specialists, implant-only practices. I mean, really, if the reality is if you offer implants, this can absolutely work for you, okay? Where we've had success with this in very heavy competition areas, we've had this work in urban cities, we've had this work in smaller cities, but I mean, the only place that I wouldn't recommend this for is if you're in a very teeny, tiny town with a population of like 500 people and you're the only dentist. You probably already know everyone, and you're probably like, this may not be what you need, but honestly, even in smaller cities, like if there's only a handful of dentists, like, look, the patients have to choose someone. It might as well be you. And so this thing can work really well and be very effective. But in these heavy competition areas, something like this is almost a must because everybody's doing the marketing. Everybody's trying to be at the top and we have to stand out and be different. So this is especially for you. Now, how this works is, look, if you're looking for heavy growth, like you want like 10, 15 more patients, or you just want a few more patients, you want just like 1, 2, 3 more implant patients a month, no matter what you're looking for, this can work for you. And that's one of the beauties of this funnel is it's very easy to scale up or scale down. So you can easily just invest more in advertising to get more patients or pull it back and get less patients. It's kind of up to you and how you want to run this. Another thing I want to address is like, look, if you're thinking everything here looks amazing, Ryan, I want to do this, but I'm in a marketing contract right now. I had no idea I wanted to do something like this, and I just can't switch. I just rebuilt my website. I don't think that I can do this. I don't want to spend the money on a whole new website that I just built. Well, look, it's simply not true. It's no problem, okay? Because right now, even if you're doing marketing, no matter what that marketing is, this implant funnel can be a complement or an addition to that. We don't have to turn off anything else that you're doing. And in fact, our marketing is not going to affect anything else that you're doing. It's not going to hurt it. We could launch this in tandem with any other marketing that you're doing. Okay. With this advanced implant funnel, we don't need to adjust your existing website. We don't have to take over your existing website. We don't have to build you a new website, right? We're just building these landing pages specific for this. We don't have to change any existing ads that you're running. And of course, this excludes implant ads. Okay. So like, if you are running implant ads with another company, you would need to turn those off so that we could do the implant marketing. But outside of that, everything else can keep going. We don't have to mess around with SEO or rankings there. We're not going to touch that. We don't need to coordinate with your existing marketing company. We can work independently and complement any existing marketing with this. If you're not doing any marketing and you want to add this, obviously that's no big deal too. Another thing I want to address here is that if you are listening to this and feeling like this is going to be really overwhelming for my staff, if we were to do this, like how am I going to make this work? Or if you're thinking, I really don't have anybody good that can handle the phones. Like, and you're thinking to yourself, well, even if you got me a ton of amazing leads, I'd be worried that my staff would botch the calls. That's okay. We can also solve for that as well. Okay. And let me tell you how. It's through our lead handling service. So typically we include lead handling as part of every funnel. The way this works is you'd get a dedicated lead management agent. You'd have an onboarding meeting so that they could get complete understanding of how your practice operates. And this person is basically going to contact all the leads as they enter the implant funnel. They are going to conduct follow-up calls, and they're going to communicate with all the leads to determine if a consult's right for them. Basically, where anyone who fills out that form, we're going to call them and pre-screen them so that when they raise their hand and say, hey, I want a consultation, we're going to pre-screen to make sure that that person's actually a good fit for your practice. And if they are, they'll work with your staff on scheduling and getting that person on your calendar. So we can help with all of that and actually bypass your front office. So if you have any issues that you're worried about with either the staff not being capable, or you have any issues where you're like, we have a rock star staff, we just don't have capacity, we can be a solution for that. And we can handle all these leads for you as part of this. Now, the last thing I want to address here is probably one of the biggest questions I get about this implant funnel is, Ryan, if we were to work with you on this, how do we ensure success? How do I get results that look like Dr. Roy's? Like, how do I make sure that that's actually what we can achieve? And there really is a couple key things that you can do to ensure that this is going to work. And really, it's 4 major criteria. So number 1, you need somebody inside the office to champion this. And what I mean like champion this, and it can be you or literally anybody else, but somebody who's going to basically take responsibility for the CRM. So someone who's make sure that, like, for example, if somebody comes in and does a consultation, that somebody in the practice moves them, right? We have the different columns that showed like, hey, they called us, they came in for a consultation, they accepted treatment, or they're thinking about it, or they said no. Basically someone to go in there and just move them between the columns. Somebody who can be in charge of making sure that that CRM is up to date with what's happening inside the practice. That has to be done. And it's really easy. Just somebody has to be in charge of that. Number 2, is you'd have to get on the phone with us once a month minimum. The absolute number 1 reason that this doesn't work is due to lack of communication. But typically, if we have good communication, the results, they show. And so when I say like get on the phone with us once a month minimum, another thing that goes along with that is we need in-office consult reports weekly from you guys, typically, if it's something that you want to do. And what I mean by that is like, we can handle everything on the front end, right? Like we can deal with all of this. We can even schedule patients for you, but we're not in your practice. And so I don't know what happens when that patient finally lands in your chair. And let's say, just for example, I'm just going to throw this out there. Let's just say that like you got 5 leads, you had 5 consults in a week that were a direct result of this. And you had one that accepted treatment and you're starting with you. You had one that ended up not being able to afford it. You had one that turned it down and you had two that were thinking about it, right? Having that information for us is extremely valuable because it allows us to then make quick changes and fix any issues. And maybe it becomes as simple as, oh, we were slightly targeting the wrong individuals or the wrong marketplaces. Let's fix that. And then the next week, guess what? You're attracting the right patients now. And it's very, very simple. And that stuff is really easy for us to tweak, especially early on. So just really good communication is the absolute biggest way to make this a huge win for you. And it's very easy to do. And the last one, guys, is just trust the process. Everything that we've done with Dr. Roy is what I would want to do with you as well. Meaning that there's a reason why his worked so well, right? There's a reason why he got 7 5-figure cases in 7 weeks. There's a reason why he got such a large revenue jump, right? And we built the campaigns in a very specific way to ensure that we got that result. And so trust the process and kind of let us drive the strategy here, and you will see the results come in. And of course, we're going to customize things to your practice, and we want your input because you are unique and we need to understand why you're unique. But do trust the process. You do these 4 things, partner with us, and you're going to see some amazing results. So guys, at this point, you got 2 choices. One, you can do nothing, right? You can do nothing. Okay. You could, but why would you do that? Right? I can't imagine that you came onto this masterclass tonight to hang out with me for what, at least an hour at this point. I mean, that's cool. And I'm happy to spend this evening with you. But my guess is you came on this webinar because you were looking to make a change. You were coming on this webinar because you wanted to get something going. You wanted to get more implant patients. Okay. So your second choice is to go ahead and get started. And all you need to do to get started today to move on the path towards more implant patients is just schedule a free marketing assessment. That's it. All I'm asking you to do is schedule a free marketing assessment with me. It would be just a short 30-minute call. We're going to discuss the implant funnel at more length and make sure it's a good fit for your practice and your unique situation. We would discuss the next steps to getting everything implemented. Look, there's no obligation to move forward on that call, but it's just a conversation to understand, is this a good fit for you? Can we help you reach the goals that you're looking to reach? And if this is something you really want to do, you do want to get more implant patients, you want to see your practice grow, you should schedule that marketing assessment. I know that I believe we've got time tomorrow. Usually these spots fill up really quick on webinars, but I believe we have some time tomorrow and Friday, but definitely next week. Go ahead and go to firegang.com/implants. And you can go ahead and book a call there. I know that Kelsey dropped that into the chat as well. So you can go ahead and just click that link directly and go ahead and sign up for a call. But at this point, guys, that's what I had to share. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat box. I know some of you guys already dropped some questions in the chat box. So I'll go ahead and run through those. If you got anything else, I'll go ahead and answer that as well. So give me just 1 second and I'll run through these. Okay. Okay, cool. So first question, how large of a radius do we want to target? And what would we recommend for a targeting radius? So what I would say is it depends. I think a lot of these things can come down to the answer of it depends, right? But I'll try to fill in some of the gaps here. So it depends mainly on your market for how big of a radius we'd want to target. If you're in a more rural area, then it needs to be wider. If you're in more of an urban area, it can be a little smaller, but it also depends on budget. So, if you're spending $1,000 a month on Google ads versus $2,000 versus $5,000, like what does that radius need to look like? I would say is like a general of thumb, a 10-mile radius around the practice is kind of like a good place to start. And then kind of going from there, whether you want to expand or contract. But I wouldn't go much more than that until you're ready to spend like maybe $2,000 to $3,000 on ads. So once you really start pushing more of a stronger investment is when you can start pushing that out. Let's see here. Does this work on Facebook and Google, one or the other better? We've found success on both platforms. Typically, Google works better though. So we're typically running this on Google. for most clients. And then as we want to scale up, we might try Facebook and see how it does. And for some clients, Facebook works extremely well, but typically we stick with Google for this. Let's see. How many new patients a month would you expect for the average office? It's a good question. So what I will tell you is that right now, we're typically clients are seeing on average somewhere between 1 and 3 of these 5-figure implant cases each month. So I guess you could say it's around, two of these patients really coming in, based on, the budgets that we're seeing. We have other practices that have really ramped their budgets up to like 5, 6, 7,000 a month. And those guys are seeing more patients, but most are not starting with as high of a budget as that. And so we're really seeing it being in that like kind of 2 patients a month realm as being like a solid average. And if there's your 5-figure cases, if these are 10, 11,000, I mean, that's like what, like 25,000. I mean, just on the bottom end there, that's like 25,000 in additional revenue, in a given month for something like this, which is fantastic. But we can do a lot better. And typically what we see is that the longer we run this, the better it gets, right? And the reason for that is because as you continue to run ads, as people will continue to get into the system here, as people download the guide, more people get into the top of the pipeline. What we're typically seeing is that will expand and expand and expand and expand, right? Like all the people that are flowing through the pipeline. And so you'll start getting more patients coming in as you've kind of, like maybe somebody's not ready for 6 months and then all of a sudden 6 months later, they reach back out, but you're still marketing. And so new people are coming in and new people are coming in. So it does get better. And there's kind of this this ramp curve. So it does get better over time. All right. Another question come in here. Oh, okay. You said so this question is, what do you use for targeting in terms of demographics, especially around like income levels? So we don't really target based on income levels. It's something that can be really difficult to do, and you can end up cutting out people that you don't want to cut out, when you start targeting by income levels on like Facebook and Google. What we found to just be more effective is to start by casting a wide net, just get people to download that guide and then sift from there and filter from there. And doing it that way, we've found to be much, much more effective. We find that, especially like in my experience, is just we can end up filtering way too many people. And there's also some cases where it's just not possible in given markets, depending upon the market, to filter that way. So we just cast a wide net and then filter it down, and we just kind of manually find the best patients. Good questions, guys. What other questions do you got for me? I know here we go. Here's a list of questions too. Let me see if I answered all these. What kind of implants can this work for? So that's a good question. I've seen this work for kind of everything across the board. We have clients that do that. They're just running a lot of single implants with this and bringing in patients that are looking for some maybe cases on the smaller side, let's say, a lot of single implant stuff. But we have other clients who exclusively want to use this to attract like full arch cases and get these like, $40,000, $50,000 cases in, and it works for that as well. Some of the guys that are attracting some of the smaller cases are probably doing a little bit more volume with a lower price point, but it just kind of depends on what you're going for. But we see this work for all types of different implants. Rick, you said the calendar's not available right now. Let me double check what's going on with that. It might be, I'm hoping it didn't fill up. So firegain.com/implants. Let me direct you to another place, to go ahead and get this scheduled. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. If you, if you are struggling to get in, just go ahead and email me at marketing@firegang.com and just let me know. Sorry, I can't friggin' type here. Or sorry, right. Marketing@firegang.com. And let me know that you want to schedule something and I'll just find a time with you. That's marketing@firegang.com. I'm going to take a look. Yeah, it seems like we're having some calendar troubles right now. This has been working all day. So I apologize about that. But thanks for bringing that to my attention. Yeah, go ahead and email me. I'll get, and if you even have a time that you know would be good for you, feel free to email me some times and we'll get a call scheduled. But we use Calendly. Maybe Calendly's down. I'll try to get that figured out here in the next few minutes with my team. All right, we have a couple other questions. I'll go ahead and answer while we're trying to get that figured out. So let me read this here. So your instructor for IBS implants, which is considered one of the most minimally invasive implant techniques. Is that an avenue you would look to promote, or is this a blanket for all implants? So that's a really good question. What I would say is that it's definitely something that can work as part of this. Like, okay, so a lot of times patients don't know exactly what they want or exactly what they need. And at a really kind of general level, they might know, like, I need implants. Like, I need that as like a solution, but they don't really know like the specifics of it. Right. And so what we try to do through this is try to educate them on what they do need and like what is the best option for them. Right. And so we start out by just kind of doing like a blanket, like, hey, want to learn about implants, right? And then the guide could educate them on all these things that you're doing, right? And we would want to send out additional content to them that discusses kind of like your specialty and what makes you unique. And then it's through that process that these patients kind of learn about that. And then they come into you and they see you because you're different, right? So what I would say is this would absolutely work for what you're looking to do. I mean, again, but I mean, part of this, at least at the beginning, is just to try to capture patients who are searching for an implant solution and then educate them on, what you're doing and then try to get them in the door. So we've had a lot of different practices that are all doing something a little bit different. And we just look to kind of approach this a little bit uniquely for each of them. I hope that answers your question. Let's see here. Let's see what other questions we have. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so I think I just answered that. Some of you guys had similar questions. Okay, let's check it. This one here. Okay, here's some new questions. Do the email and text ever feel like too much? That's a good question. So how I typically answer this is that it's only too much if there's no out, right? So what I mean by that is, like, if somebody can let me actually move back here. So if somebody can like unsubscribe or say they don't want to receive texts anymore, then it's no longer like a pushy thing, right? And so you can see here on the ones that we send out, it says text stop to stop, right? If we didn't have that and we just kept texting people, then it starts to get a little bit dicey, right? And then it feels pushy. But otherwise, really what we're just doing is reminding these people and sending them more information about you and what makes you unique. And for the vast majority of these people and these patients, they actually want it. They want to hear from you. They want to understand why you're different. They want to understand why they should choose you, because they are doing research and this is a high consideration purchase. And so the more that we can give them, the better, right? And you kind of want to think about this, if that's a concern of yours, of like, if you've ever purchased something that's super high value, you do your research too, right? And you want to learn everything that you possibly can about this. And so I would say it's certainly not too pushy. I also just heard back from my team. We did get the calendar issue fixed. So if you want to go to firegang.com/implants to sign up for a call with me, feel free to do so. The calendar is working there again. All right. Let's see. Any other questions? Let me check Facebook. Any questions? Let's see what else you guys have here. Will FireGang teach this system to my staff, or do I have to? So as part of, if you did want to work with us on this, we will work with your staff to train them on like how to use the CRM, how to work with us, what the cadence needs to look like. We'll handle all of that. And just we'll take that burden off you. Again, like what we really need is to have someone who's going to like champion this within your practice, but we'll get that person, we'll identify who they need to be, and then we can go ahead and just work with them, get them all the training they need, and get them set up. It really is a pretty simple process. And the feedback that I've heard from doctors and office managers and those within the practice is that it is pretty simple process to follow. So nothing too crazy there. All right. Juan, you're absolutely welcome. I'm happy that you came and joined us for the seminar. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions, guys? You've got me here. Happy to answer anything you have. Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions. So I think we'll call it at that. Hey guys, I appreciate every single one of you coming out. Again, if you're at all interested, we did get that calendar fixed. So feel free to go to firegang.com/implants. I'll send you a follow-up email with that as well. You can go ahead and book a call with us. We'll be doing more master classes in the future. So look out for those. We're going to cover lots of different topics. Oh, sorry, guys. Looks like we had one final question in here before we wrap up. I'll go ahead and answer this. You caught us right at the end here, Steve. What do you consider to be a free consultation? So when I say a free consultation, what I mean is like we go through the process of finding this patient, right? We do all the marketing. And then for the lead handling, we go ahead and screen that patient and we identify like, yeah, this is probably going to be a really good patient for you. And then when I say free consult, like this person comes in to the practice and you see them, they're in your chair. You do that exam to see what they need, right? And to see like what the implant, like what implants do they need and what is that going to cost? And you do that kind of initial exam with them, right? And that's what I consider the free consultation to be. And so you can kind of like you have what you need to present, treatment options for that patient. But what we're trying to do ahead of time and what we've seen a lot of success with is that you're going to get, you're not going to be seeing people coming in for those free consultations that are never going to be a good fit for you, right? Like we're trying to avoid people coming in where like you do that free consultation, you present all the treatment options, you spend all this time with them. They're like, oh, I could never afford that, right? And they get this sticker shock, right? Like we're trying to set up this system to avoid that at all costs. And we've seen a lot of success with it because we kind of pre-screen these people, pre-educate these people on what it's going to cost, what the process looks like, right? So that way when they hit your chair and you're kind of going through and telling them what they need and doing that exam with them, they're in good shape, right? So that's what I mean by free consult. Okay, cool. All right, guys. Thanks for the questions. And we'll see you next time. Have a good night.